Julian, and welcome to this session. I think it's a weighted session. So today we are talking about PL-200, Power Platform Functional Consultant. This session will focus on the exam objectives and other tips to study well for the exam. I will go for the exam topics, and we will discover a lot of things together. So let me introduce myself. So my name is Yves Habersaat, and I'm business application consultant. I'm working at Sword Group in the Switzerland business unit. So my key areas are Microsoft 365, Azure, Dynamics 365, Power Platform, and ServiceNow. And I'm also a Microsoft 365 and Azure developer. So I'm focused on SPFX, Team SDK, TypeScript, React, and .NET Core. So I have the two sides. I'm functional and technical consultant. So you can reach me out on the social networks and on my website. You are always welcome. And I'm answering everything in the social networks or on my website. So for today, session objectives are three. We have three objectives. We cover the skills measured in the exam. You will understand the key features for the exam, and you will get some available resources and my personal tips to study well for the exam. That are the three objectives for this session. And the agenda is I will just make a quick introduction for the exam update in March 2021. And then we go for the exam topics. We have 5 topics, and at the end we have a Q&A. If you have any question, you will let me know. First, before starting, I have 2 things. You have a PL-200 ebook discount. So if you want to buy this book to study for the exam, it's my recommendation is to buy this one, and you have a discount. So don't hesitate and buy this ebook to study well. And the second thing, I will talk about the Power Apps Community Plan, which is a free development environment for one developer. If you want to make some practice for the exam, it's really useful. So you can get yours, and you have a Dataverse database, you have premium connectors, but it's only for yours. It's only for one developer. So you can request yours, and it's really useful for the exam. Let's go in the first topic. What's new in the March 2021 exam update? So Microsoft made a naming convention update, and right now common data service is Dataverse, entity is now table, field is now column, record is now row, option set is now choice, and to option is now yes, no. You have conditional access introduction, which is basically Azure AD security. And right now, they made a change in the desktop flows, which is basically on the Power Automate desktop side. And UI flow is now desktop flow. And you have mention of Dataverse for Teams, formerly Project Oakdale, which is basically Power Platform in Microsoft Teams. So that's the main topics for the exam update in March, but there is some other things like privacy and Teams, but it's not very relevant. This is the main topics for the exam change. So let's start with the first main area is configure Microsoft Dataverse. And maybe if you don't have any database management skills, it's maybe the most difficult part, because it's related to manage an existing data model, create and manage processes, Dataverse settings, and security. Basically, we start with managing an existing data model. So basically, you need to understand everything about Dataverse database. It's a relationship database management system, and you need to understand first the table types, which are standard, activity, or virtual. You need to understand how to use it, how to create a table, how to assign a type, and other things like this. And then we have table properties settings, and you need to understand how to make, how to put settings in collaboration, offline settings, create update settings, and other things like this. You need to understand table ownership, which is basically user or team vs organization. Basically, it's data access. And maybe most of the most difficult part is the relationship. You need to understand the three relationship: many to one, one to many, and many to many. Basically, it's as I see with some people, it's maybe some of the most difficult parts. The relationship. It includes the cascading rules when you are maybe some deleting some records, updating, and other things like this. It's really, if you don't have, as I said, if you don't have any database management skills, it's maybe difficult for you. So you need to practice a lot. And then you had table columns. You need to understand how to create table columns with display name, type, if it's required or not, and other stuff like this. And finally, alternate keys. When you are dealing with external data sources, you need to understand how to create an alternate key and how to maybe arrange with some properties to create a key. That's it for managing existing data model. For this part, my best tip for you is to create a business case. In the past, I made, for some people, I made some business case like creating a support tickets, management system on things like this. It's the best to understand all the requirements for creating a data model. So create a business case, maybe check on the internet for some inspiration if you don't have. Just create a business case with existing stuffs. Next, create and manage processes. So in this topic, it's related to business rule and workflows. You need to understand how to create a business rule, what is the logic inside the business rule, the scope, and how to configure a business rule, how to test it, and other things like this. You need to understand classic synchronous workflows. Basically, when you are creating this kind of workflow, Microsoft is recommended you to switch to Power Automate. You have a message when you are creating a new synchronous workflow, but you need to understand the logic behind this classic workflow, how to create it, how to configure, how to test, and how to compare with other workflow systems. And maybe one of the most important part for me, the lifecycle management. You need to understand really clearly how to activate a business rule, or to deactivate, or to save as, or to validate. These actions are really important if you want to be ready for the exam. You need to understand the full lifecycle management of these processes. It's really important. And next, we have configure database settings, which is basically maybe some advanced settings with relevant search, which is basically to improve the search result and performance inside Dataverse. You have the auditing part, which is for compliance with various regulations. So you need to understand how to activate auditing on entities and put some settings. You have the data management part, which is really important, how to import, export data, make data mapping, make bulk deletion of records. You need to understand clearly data management tasks. And last part is the duplicate records detection. You need to understand how to make settings in this part, how to create rules, and how to check the job. That's also a great, a big part of the exam. And next, and at the end, we have the security settings. Maybe one of the big topic inside Dataverse, the security settings. So you need to really understand what is a business unit, what is users and teams. It's not Microsoft Teams. Some people are asking me, why Teams in the Dataverse? No, it's not related to Microsoft Teams. It's users and teams. It's objects inside, security objects inside Dataverse. So you need to understand business units, users and teams, and you need to understand how to sync Azure AD groups with teams inside Dataverse. So it's really important to understand this concept. And you need to understand security roles, which is basically Dataverse data access with column security profiles and the hierarchy security, which is we can be set to manager or position. And at the end, we have conditional access, or to create a conditional access rule for accessing data inside Dataverse with MFA or everything like this. It's inside the new update in March. So for this, it's really important to practice, because to understand clearly what is a team, what is a user, what is a security role, what is a business unit, you need to understand really clearly and practice a lot. That's my good recommendation. Create some user, create some business unit, check hierarchy security, create some records, assign some records to teams, to user, and other things like this. You need to understand clearly what is every object inside the security model. And now it's Power Apps. So we have three types of Power Apps. We have model-driven apps, you have Canvas apps, and you have Portal apps. Model-driven apps is related to Dynamics 365. You have Canvas apps, where you are creating apps from blank, and you have Portal apps, which is interactive portals. So for model-driven apps, it's really a big topic, but I will maybe make a short resume. You need to understand how to create and publish model-driven app. You need to understand clearly forms, views, chart, and dashboard, how to create them, how to manage them, how to put them inside the app. You need to understand sitemaps configuration. It's really important to understand how to publish sitemaps, which are inside a sitemap, and other things like this. You need to understand how to select assets for the app, like tables, forms, view, business process flow, other things like this. And the sharing process is important. You need to understand what is the best practice to share a model-driven app. Basically, it's for a dedicated custom security role inside the Dataverse. That's the best practice. And my recommendation for this is, as always, the same. Create an app. Make a business model on Dataverse, like support ticket tracking, and create a model-driven apps to track the tickets. And it's an example, but you can imagine a lot of business cases for your practice. And next, we have Canvas apps. Canvas apps is basically how to create an app with a blank template. So you are starting from blank. And as a model-driven app, you need to understand how to create and publish an app. You need to understand clearly the Dataverse connector to get data from Dataverse, to extract data, to put them inside some components. You need to understand this connector. You need to understand how to create screens and how to make navigation, like menu or like this. Formulas, variables, and collections. This is a big topic, but you need to understand how to create formulas, how to create to manipulate data inside variables and collections. Offline mode is part of the exam. You need to understand how to make your app working in offline mode when you are working with a mobile app, Power Apps mobile app, and sometimes you are not connected to the internet, so you want to make a cache inside your app, and you can manage your data offline, in offline mode. So you need to understand the process for this. You have component libraries too. Components libraries are basically how to reuse some components across your apps. Basically, you can create some menu or like maybe some components for your business needs, and you can integrate in components libraries to reuse them across your different apps. For automate integration, that's important. How to launch a flow from the app, or to request maybe some external data with a flow. That's part of the exam. App checker, how to make analysis around app checker, understand the error messages, and other things like this. Sharing process, how to share an app with other colleagues or like this. You need to understand how to share an app and what are the capabilities in the sharing process. That's the main topic for Canvas app. And portals. Portals is maybe sometimes it's really difficult for people to understand inside portal, because you don't you are not a developer, because sometimes portal is really complicated. But you need to understand the create and publish process, like every app type. Sorry. You need to understand how to expose Dataverse data inside a portal, like tables and related data. You need to understand web pages, forms, and navigation across your portal. Security is really important. You need to understand web role and page access. You need to understand the difference between a user which is signed on and as a guest inside the portal, and other security stuff like this. Portal, maybe you can make a free trial for your environment. You can provision a portal. So that's my recommendation, to create a simple portal app and to expose some tables inside, just to understand how to create some basic pages, how the sign-in process works, what is web roles, how to create a web role, or to restrict access to a page. That's key components to understand. Next, and maybe my favorite, create and manage Power Automate. In this part, it's around Power Automate. You need to understand how to create flow, create, manage business process, and desktop flow. The first is how to create flow. As you might know, sorry, you have cloud flows, desktop flows, and business process flow. And inside a flow, you have triggers and actions. And inside cloud flow, you have automated flow, instant flow, and scheduled flow. You need to understand these types of flow. What are the main features of this flow? Like automated flow is related to trigger, instant flow is related to human interaction with maybe sometimes a button or everything like this, and scheduled flow. You need to understand how to create them, how to add some trigger action, how to schedule them, and everything related to this flow. You need to understand the Dataverse triggers and actions. So basically, it's the Dataverse connector. You need to understand what are the actions and trigger you can do inside a flow. You need to understand really clearly the logic and expression to manipulate data, to make some loop or condition. That's really important to understand. Flow checker, how to make some analysis around the errors, messages, and other things like this, how to activate the activate flow. And the analytics part is basically how to check your flow runs, and if a flow failed, or what is the root cause, and other things around the errors and analytics. Basically, for this, you need to practice, because you can create some flows, like cloud flows. You are creating one for each types, and you are checking what are the key differences between the flow. It's really important to understand the differences and what you can do in each type. Business process flows. It's maybe a dedicated topic. You need to understand every component, the creation and publish process. You need to understand how to create business rule, how to schedule, how to trigger workflow, action steps inside a business process flow. You need to understand stages, how to create stage, and how to make some condition and other things like this. Parallel branches, when you want to make some parallel tasks inside your business process flow. And lifecycle management. I recommend you to understand clearly the lifecycle, like activate, deactivate, save as. You need to understand every action in the lifecycle management to be ready for the exam. That's my recommendation. Next story, build desktop flows. Basically, it's related to Power Automate Desktop, the brand new application, which is now free for Windows 10 users. And basically, I have sometimes question, what is the difference of using desktop flow or custom connector? Basically, desktop flows is for when you have no API for your application. You are using custom connector when you have an app with APIs. And you are using desktop flow with application without any APIs. So basically, when you have a legacy ERP system, which doesn't have any API to integrate with, you are creating a desktop flow. Maybe some for purpose like managing some Excel files for import, export data inside your system. So that's basically some use case with legacy systems, or maybe when you want to deal with Excel files and other maybe some CSV files for your systems. You need to understand the difference between attended and unattended flows. Basically, attended is when you have a human interaction, and unattended is when you have no human interaction inside the flow. And finally, you need to understand record tasks with the web recorder and desktop recorder. Desktop recorder is, as it's clear, it's for desktop apps, and web recorder is for web apps with like browser like Edge, Chrome, and Firefox, and other things like this. In this part, maybe you need to really understand the build process. You need to create a flow for and practice a lot around some flow. What is the attended mode, unattended? You can make a free trial if you want to be to have the premium features. And you really need to understand the business cases for desktop flow. That's important. You will have a change because Common Data Service was renamed in Dataverse. In the coming weeks, you will have the Dataverse connectors like this in this screenshot. It's brand new because in the past it was called Common Data Service, and now Microsoft will update this to Microsoft Dataverse. And what is the legacy on the this screenshot? Legacy is old Common Data Service connector, and the main will be Microsoft Dataverse. You have the legacy one available too. And next, Power Virtual Agents chatbots. In this part, it's dealing with Power Virtual Agent chatbots, how to create a chatbot, how to use topics, and how to configure entities. So the first step is how to create chatbot. You need to understand how to create a new chatbot, how to publish a chatbot, how to share a chatbot. Really important, you need to understand how to add chatbot to Teams or other channels, but mainly I recommend you to understand how to add chatbot to Teams. Microsoft Teams is a central topic inside Power Virtual Agent and in the exam. So you need to understand how to publish a chatbot inside Teams, and how to make analytics like how many requests, how many trigger you had, and other things like this. It's related to analytics, data analytics. And next, we have configure topics. You need to understand how to trigger topics, how to create new topics. By default, you have some existing topics for samples, but you need to understand how to create new topics, how to create questions, message, and condition inside your topics. And one of the important feature is how to extract topics from a web page. Like if you have knowledge base pages, or in ServiceNow or Dynamics knowledge bases, you need to understand how to extract this data from your web page and creating this inside your topics, existing topics. You need to understand how to make greetings, how to make escalations. Maybe you want to escalate your chat inside maybe some Dynamics features like customer topics, and error messages, how to manage the error messages and other things like this. And you need to understand Power Automate integration, how to trigger a flow from your chatbot. It's really important to understand. My best advice for this, with my sometimes I'm making some demonstration with people. I'm creating some chatbot to maybe some weather forecast. So I'm creating a chatbot to ask to the people where are you locating, and I'm giving him the weather forecast for this area. That's a good basic business case to try making some chatbots and other things like this. Entities, you have the capability to create some entities. You have pre-built entities and closed lists. By default, you have some basic entities created for you, but you can create entities to make some list of things like if you want maybe to create some entries for some purpose, you can create your closed list. And you need to understand how to make integration with entities inside your chatbot. That's important. And the last thing, data, how to store data with variables. You need to understand the difference between bot scope and topic scope. That's really important to understand the difference. Bot scope for any topic inside the chatbot, and topic scope for limited to the current topic. That you need to understand the restriction between these two types. And the last part of this exam is how to integrate Power Apps with other apps and services. Maybe it's a big topic because you have a lot of things inside this. You have Power BI, you have AR Builder, and you have Microsoft 365 and Teams. It's a big topic because you have a lot of things and you need to understand really clearly some key features in Power BI or AI Builder. And the first is Power BI with Power Apps. It's a big part because you need to understand it's not really simple topic because you need how to manage your Power BI workspaces and apps. You need to understand what is a data flow for data preparation. You need to understand how to integrate your tiles, your Power BI tiles inside model-driven apps or Canvas apps. And you need to understand how to make Power Automate integration, like data-driven alert on the brand new Power BI connectors inside Power Automate. For Power BI, you need because in the community plan you don't have Power BI licenses, but you can request a free trial Power BI Pro to make some tests. It's really important to practice because Power BI is really, for me, in the Power Platform, it's not basically it's maybe the old components inside the Power Platform. So it's, for me, it's a really separated stuff. So you need to understand really clearly the Power BI topics. And AI Builder, maybe one of the big topic inside this part. You need to understand like everything inside AI Builder models. You have category classification, entity extraction from processing, object detection, and prediction. You need to understand everything about this model, what are the capabilities and what you can do with this. You need to understand the process, which basically is create, train, test, publish of a model inside the Builder. And last thing, you need to understand the Power Apps and Power Automate integration. You can make some trial if you want. Basically, the most common business case is from processing with invoices management, for example. So I'm loving using this business case because it's really relevant for everyone. So I'm creating a model for extracting data from invoice and put them maybe inside Dynamics or inside a legacy ERP system or maybe a custom app. That's a good business case, and this is one of my best business case to showcase for some people or in my trainings. And basically, you have some pre-made. You can go straight to some pre-made models like a business card reader, category classification, a language detection, key phrase extraction. You have some pre-made scenarios for you. Business card reader is one of the maybe funny. You can scan a business card and extract data for your CRM record and other things like this. So sometimes it's really interesting part to understand this. You have sentiment analysis. You can make analysis on the maybe some support tickets or other things like this. It's possible. And at the end, we have how to integrate Power Apps with Microsoft 365. You have some topics which are how to add an app inside Microsoft Teams, a team tab. Just how to add the Power Apps inside a Teams team. You need to understand how to create an app from a Power Apps app, like with the export feature. You are creating an app package for Microsoft Teams. You need to understand Dataverse for Teams, which basically is Power Platform inside Microsoft Teams. You need to understand just how to create an app, a basic app with a simple table and other things like this. You need to understand just an overview of the app policies inside Teams Admin Center, because sometimes you are exporting your app from Power Apps and you are getting a package, how to make some policies for this package and maybe some custom policies. And at the end, we have Excel and Word templates, which basically it's XML mapping from Dataverse to Excel and Word templates. Sometimes it's really related to developer stuff, but you need to understand the capabilities around the templates. That's it. I'm done. I made a list with every useful links, so you can just navigate for this link. You have 3 parts. You have MS Learn links and you have MS Docs links. So I compile this inside a simple gist, so you can have everything inside this file. So you can check everything, and you have an overview of what are the useful resources. For me, with these resources, you have a lot to study, and you can really have some useful information for the exam and how to study well. That's a really useful link. I'm done. And if you have any question or request, I'm here for you. So you can reach me out right now. Thank you.